The Battle of al-Qadisiyyah was one of the significant Islamic conquest battles against the Persian Empire, which occurred from November 16th to 19th, 636, near the town of Qadisiyyah. This battle marked a critical turning point in the Islamic expansion into Iraq, ending in a decisive victory for the Muslims. The Persian Emperor Yazdegerd III had formed an alliance with the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius to strengthen his forces. However, this alliance was not enough to prevent the Persian defeat. After the Prophet Muhammad's death, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq assumed control over the Arabian Peninsula following the Wars of Apostasy. This period of consolidation allowed him to launch campaigns into Greater Syria, marking the early rise of what would become one of the largest empires in history. This newly emergent Islamic state soon found itself clashing with the Byzantine and Sassanid empires, which had been vying for control over these lands for centuries. The conflicts quickly turned into campaigns of conquest that would ultimately lead to the collapse of the Sassanid Empire and the annexation of the southern and eastern territories of the Byzantine Empire. Upon Abu Bakr's orders, the Muslim army advanced towards southern Iraq. As they reached the area of al-Hafair, they encountered resistance from Hormuz, the Persian commander in the region, who had mustered a force to confront the Muslims. A battle ensued near Kazima, also known as the Battle of Chains, where the Muslims emerged victorious, and Hormuz was killed. Following this, the Muslims continued to defeat the Persians in battles at al-Madar, al-Walaja, and Ulays, leading to the eventual capture of Hira and its submission to Muslim control. With the capture of Hira, the Muslims established it as their military base for the Iraqi front and as an administrative center. The army then advanced towards al-Anbar and Ain al-Tamr, taking control of much of the land along the Euphrates River. This expansion secured the land routes linking Arabia with Iraq and Greater Syria under Islamic control. When Khalid ibn al-Walid received orders from Abu Bakr to redirect half the Iraqi forces towards Syria to assist the Muslims there, al-Muthanna al-Shaybani was appointed to lead the remaining Muslim forces in Iraq. Known for his caution, vigilance, and constant intelligence. Gathering on enemy movements, al-Muthanna carefully monitored the situation in the Sassanid capital, Ctesiphon. However, he soon realized that the Muslim forces in Iraq would not be sufficient to counter the Sassanids, who had unified under Yazdegerd III, their new political leader. He therefore requested reinforcements from the Caliph. In response, a significant force was assembled, and in the ensuing Battle of Namarak, the Muslims defeated the Persians. Further victories followed in battles at Kaskar and elsewhere, prompting the Persian commander Rustam to organize a formidable army to halt the Muslim advance. Rustam bolstered his army with war elephants, a powerful weapon intended to intimidate the Muslims and scatter their horses and camels, hoping to gain a decisive advantage. Under the command of Jaban, the Persian forces took up a position at Qasr al-Natif, across the Euphrates River from the Muslim forces. In the subsequent Battle of the Bridge, the Muslim army suffered a heavy defeat. However, they regrouped for a second confrontation at al-Buwaib, delivering a strong blow to the Persians and capturing substantial spoils. With these battles paving the way, a decisive clash with the Persians became inevitable. The Muslims mobilized their forces in response to Caliph Umar's call, with large contingents arriving in Medina. Command of the Muslim army was given to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, renowned for his bravery and tactical prowess. Sa'd led the army cautiously to Qadisiyyah, where they camped along the Qadis Canal near the Kantara Mountains. The Muslim forces at Qadisiyyah numbered around 36,000, and Sa'd dispatched raiding parties along the Euphrates shores near Kaskar and al-Anbar, returning with valuable spoils. Meanwhile, the Persian king Yazdegerd prepared a substantial army to expel the Muslims from Iraq. He gathered all available resources of the Persian Empire, assembling its best men and commanders and entrusting the leadership to Rustam. Advanced from Najaf and camped at the old Tigris River opposite the Muslim forces. After establishing his base in Qadisiyyah, he sent a message to Saud requesting a delegation for negotiations. Saud sent representatives to explain the Muslims' mission in Iraq. Rustam, however, was infuriated and declared, "There will be no peace between us." The Muslim and Persian forces took up positions between the Kandak, Trench, and the Atik River. The Persians brought their war elephants back into the fray, each outfitted with armored platforms from which soldiers could fire arrows and spears. The battle began on Thursday, November 16th, 636, with the Persian forces launching a barrage of arrows at the right wing of the Muslim army. The elephants then advanced, followed by the heavy cavalry, causing the Muslim infantry to retreat as their horses, unaccustomed to elephants, panicked and scattered. The Persians faced a challenge, however, as their army was densely packed in deep formations, aligned directly opposite the Muslims. The Muslims successfully redirected the Persian elephants, allowing them to launch a dual-flank assault on the right wing and center of the Persian forces, while cavalry struck from the rear.
Combat continued fiercely until sunset, with both armies withdrawing at nightfall. This day of fighting came to be known as the Day of Armath. The Muslim forces, who had grown accustomed to swift, decisive victories, were now confronted by a battle that remained unresolved even as night fell. The second day of the battle saw the Muslim forces organizing themselves for renewed combat, a day that came to be known as Awath. The day began with the Muslims tending to their wounded and burying their martyrs. The Muslim morale received a boost when a contingent of 6,000 reinforcements, led by al-Qadisiyyah ibn Amr, arrived from Syria following a victorious battle at Yarmouk. Known for his formidable combat skills, al-Qadisiyah's arrival greatly lifted Muslim spirits. Al-Qadisiyah devised a tactic to maintain the Muslims' morale by dividing his troops into 10 groups of 100 men, each entering the battlefield with takbir, cries of Allahu Akbar. The reinforcements' arrival inspired the Muslim ranks, who responded with takbir in unison, overwhelming the Persian forces. The Persian war elephants did not appear that day due to damage sustained by their wooden platforms. This allowed the Muslims to employ strategic maneuvers to gain the upper hand, earning the day the title Agwath, as reinforcements arrived and aided the Muslim army. On the third day, the Muslims resumed their practice of removing the dead from the battlefield for burial. Al-Qadisiyah secretly led a portion of his troops out of sight the night before, returning at dawn in groups that continued to arrive with takbir, lifting the Muslims' spirits. His brother, Asim, and leader Hisham ibn Utbah, the Syrian army commander, repeated the maneuver, renewing the Muslims' hope in victory. The Persian war elephants reappeared, causing significant distress for the Muslim army. However, once the elephants withdrew, the Muslims engaged in fierce, close-quarters combat, with neither side giving ground. This day was the most intense, marked by extraordinary bravery and resilience from both armies. Fighting continued even after nightfall with no reprieve or pause, and the battle raged through the night until dawn. On the fourth day, known as the Day of Qadisiyyah, the Muslims prepared for a final confrontation. By then, the Muslims were confident of their victory, and they regrouped and struck the Persian army with renewed determination. Al-Qadisiyah devised a plan to split the Persian army's flanks, cutting off communications with the Persian commander, Rustam. His strategy aimed at isolating and killing Rustam, reasoning that his death would deal a massive blow to Persian morale.
By midday, a strong wind tore down Rustam's tent, tossing it into the river. Al-Qadisiyyah and his men advanced and killed Rustam, inflicting a devastating loss on the Persian forces. Upon seeing their leader's death and sensing the danger, the Persian forces began to retreat across the river toward Ctesiphon. However, they found themselves trapped as Muslim archers and spear throwers targeted them in the river, causing heavy casualties. The battle concluded with a resounding victory for the Muslims after 4 intense days of fighting. The triumph at Qadisiyyah had significant political and military repercussions, reshaping the course of Islamic expansion in the region and beyond. With this victory, the Muslims gained control over Iraq, and the Sasanian influence over the region waned as Iraq became an integral part of the Islamic State.
Enjoyed the content? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us grow.